Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to go over designing basics, what that you'll need to learn for LaserGRBL, and we're going to start with CorelDRAW 12. Now, there are a number of programs I'm going to be using throughout this video, but for now, we're going to start with CorelDRAW 12. You will want a program that you can text edit, that you can add text to photos, you can import a number of files, especially SVGs, but more importantly, you can do layer designing and export as PNGs for LaserGRBL. So let's get into it. Firstly, we're going to go over text editing in CorelDRAW 12. So we're just going to open our program here, and I can open up previous files. I can see my recents, but I'm going to start as new, and I'm going to click on that. So at the very top left, you'll see that the standard comes up as a letter size. You have a choice between portrait and landscape, but more importantly, you can change your units of measurements here. So now I'm old school, so I'm going to use inches. And if you're laser engraving a certain size item, for instance, right now I am going to put in the dimensions for some of the slates that I do. Now, if I went to the square down on the left-hand side and double-clicked, it gives me the bounding box. Now, I have my rulers turned on, and I can just go up to my rulers there, and I can slide down some guidelines. Now, I went to the arrow tool, which is my pick tool, so I can see the center of the box again. And I can slide another guideline there, so I have my exact center. Now I can add as many guidelines as I want, and I can delete them. So now we're going to go over to where you see the A tool, and that's our text tool. So I'm going to click on that, go back to the page with my mouse, and click on the page. So geez, I can't even type in my own name today. So there we go. We've got my name. I'll go to the pick tool, and it's all selected, and just by holding down my mouse and sliding it, I can resize it, I can move it wherever I want, but I'm going to change the text here. So you'll see a number of fonts that I've downloaded. CorelDRAW comes with a ton of fonts. Now you'll see the TT beside, which is a true type font. What you see O there is an open type font, and not all of them will work in CorelDRAW. So we're just going to click on one that will definitely work. And using my pick tool again, I can slide out and make it nice and big. If I click on that again, I get my rotate arrows. So I can rotate anything, and going up to edit, I can undo that. I'm trying to remember not to use the hotkeys, which I use Control Z all the time. So I went to the left, and just under the pick tool is the node edit tool. So I can click on any font that I want. If it's just not spaced out properly, or if I want to move it around, I can do that. So I'm just going to go up and undo those changes. There we go. So now I'm going to show you how you can change your text size. So if you go to the A tool again, you can just slide your mouse over, click, and I'm just highlighting the D. So I can make this a little smaller or a little bigger, and I'll just type in a unit until I'm happy with it. And this is a nice and bold font, a nice smooth font, so definitely a nice font if you want to cut. Now, if you do want to make it a little bolder, you can go to the outline tool on the left hand side of the screen there, and you can click a number of outline options until you get your text as thick as you would like. So you can definitely make it super bold if you need it. But I'm just going to go edit and undo pen there because I like it right there. Now I can magnify, I can zoom in, zoom out, and you can also do that with the scroll on your mouse as well. And you'll see there's slider tools as well on the right hand side and the bottom of the screen. So there we go. I'm going to click on the text tool again, and I'm going to add, well, more text. So I can slide that around and I can center that. That's what my guidelines are for. Now I can click on the tool and I can add more text this way. So as you can see, this is justified left right now, which means both lines of text are lining up to the left. So I'm just going to make it a little smaller by just inputting how big I want it at the top of the screen there. And then I can justify here. I can center that. But also I want to take this space down. That's a bit much for spacing. So I will go into the text, the format text. And I'm just going to slide that out of the way by clicking on it and dragging the mouse. So that'll tell me my character. And there we go, my spacing. So I'm going to change my line spacing, and I'm just going to take it down to where I want it. And I think that looks good there, but before I click OK, I wanted to show you I can change the character spacing as well. And I can change my word spacing right in there. Because when you're designing, negative space looks a lot more interesting, and more space between the text makes it more legible. So I've actually taken this, and I've also, by clicking Shift and selecting the box, I can now go center and center with the align and distribute function, and I know that is precisely centered within what's going to be my slate board. Now, CorelDRAW does come with a number of fonts, but some newer designing fonts, you can get them for free from dafont.com. So here I just previewed the font, and I'm going to go to the right hand side of the screen there and click download. So it will download a zip file for me, and I just double click on the download, and I will click on the Montana TTF file, and it will click for my install to Windows box, and I will click install. And that's how simple it is to install fonts. Okay, let's get into SVGs versus PNGs. So this is why I like CorelDRAW 12, because I can import, well, all these types of files. And I also have an option of exporting a very large number of file formats. So here I'm clicking what's going to be my bounding box, and I went to the right hand side of the screen and I made it white. Now if you do this and your lettering disappeared, well, you might have it on a different layer. So that's why I went to Arrange, Order, and I'm going to put that white bounding box to the back so it brings my text to the front. So now I'm going to go to the Outline tool, and I'm going to totally get rid of that line. I do not want LaserGRBL to recognize the bounding box. I just want a white bounding box because it will export and import into LaserGRBL very nice, and LaserGRBL will then trace it very smoothly. So here I'm exporting as an SVG, and of course I want to make sure that the curves are on. Now I do have it for the drawing precision for a 1:1 unit, and it shows me it in millimeters, so I'm able to compare that when I open it up in LaserGRBL as well. Now I'm also exporting that as a PNG, so I'll just go down and change my save as type, and as you can see, you can do JPEGs. LaserGRBL will read JPEGs as well, but I happen to just like PNGs the best. So I will give that a name, testfile1.png. Okay, and I'm doing color mode as black and white, and it's going to show me the width, and 300 dpi means it'll keep it as a 1:1 scale for me, and I will click OK. And because it's going to be a bitmap, now just by sliding this, clicking on that part and sliding my little hand over there, I can see how smooth my lettering will come out. And I'm going to use no transparency because I want that a solid white bounding box. So I'm just going to open up LaserGRBL, and we'll go to the big screen there, and I'm going to first open my first file there. And so my test file to the SVG, I'm going to open that. So you'll see I've lost any options that I can make because it just makes it as an outline. I can't resize it whatsoever, and also it's not welded, it's not filled, and it's picked up the bounding box. And it's also picked up that double outline that we made. So I'm just going to go back to my PNG test file, and I'm going to open that. There we go. So vectorize, if I had the no filling on there, there you go. It's all ready for cutting. I'm going to make that nice and big for you to see. So yeah, if I wanted to vectorize that or put it to line tracing, I can also use the Smart Tool crop now. And there you go. That white bounding box just makes the LaserGRBL be able to trace it a lot smoother. And then I'm able to change my engraving speed, what I want to do, dynamic power, constant power, my settings, my auto size, and then I'll click on create. Now if I go to the bottom of my screen there, I can click the back arrow to undo my crop, and I can click on auto size, and there it is. It's 304.7 millimeters, the exact same size that we designed. But I want to make sure that after I smart crop, I will auto size it again, and it keeps the text the same exact size that we designed it to. All right, let's move on to node editing. Okay, so I actually purchased a file. So I will go to my downloads. I will find that folder, and I will double click on that folder. So it's going to bring in WinZip for me. I am going to click on extract all, and right now I am going to find a folder to put all that in. So I'm going to put that into flowers. I'm going to click what I want extracted. I'm going to say select folder, or I can create a new folder if I wanted to. But for this one, I'm going to go select folder, and then I'm going to click on extract. Now, I've already downloaded this and opened the file, so I'm just going to skip that process. And there, it shows me everything extracted into that folder. So now I'm just going to close out of there. Oh, there's a little preview of what I'm going to be doing, but I'm going to show you how to node edit in CorelDRAW 12. So if I click on wireframe, it'll show me no fills, and this means I have vector art. So vector art will show you lines. Bitmaps just shows you kind of like a grayscale image when you go to wireframe. So now I'm going to import the file type as SVG, and I'm just going to pick a flower in here. Oh, let's go for a beautiful little daisy, and I'll click it, click import, drag my mouse to my screen, click it, and there you go. If I click on enhanced, I get a nice smooth rendering of my screen. Now I will go up to arrange and ungroup any of this. So you'll see I can move things, but I lost some things because I ungrouped it all. So I'm just going to go edit, undo that move. I'm going to delete our bounding box for now. Now by clicking on that corner and selecting everything, I'm just duplicating it here, so I kind of keep a master file. And I'm just going to delete this bottom piece because we don't need it. Now I'm going to be playing with curves, so I'm going to go arrange, combine, and view wireframe. Now as I zoom in, you're going to see a number of boxes, and that's what we refer to as nodes. So I'm going to pick my node editing tool, and there you go. Now you can definitely see all the nodes that are in this graphic. So by double clicking a point there, I can add a node, or by double clicking on a node, I can delete a node. So there, I've added a node, and here at the top of the screen are my edit node tools. And what I'm going to be doing here in a second is when I click on one of the nodes, I am going to be going up to my tools and clicking on that, make that a cusp, because when I decide to break these lines, I want to make sure that it doesn't affect the curve of one of the corresponding lines that it's connected to. So there you go, I'm just making that a cusp, and I'm clicking on that, and there you go, I'm going to break that line just like scissors. There you go, and I've moved that out of the way. I'm going to add a node again just by double clicking. And I've broken that one with scissors. And then by clicking and dragging one node on top of each other, it's going to weld them together. Next, I'm going to click on that bottom node there twice to delete it. There you go. Now it is a busy graphic of nodes, so it took a little bit to render that. So I'm just going to zoom in there. So you'll see if I click on that node, it recognizes it as a curve. If I change it to a line, it will automatically make that into a line. Now I'm just going to actually get rid of these nodes. Now I could have left it if I wanted a piece of stem. Now I can quickly change it just to a line instead of using the little slider functions there. I just find it quicker to just make it a line and then change it back to a curve. You'll see how those nodes were highlighted black. I deleted those because it was pretty busy in there. And this way I just use the slider tools there, and I can make this curve in any direction that I want. So we'll zoom out of that. And yeah, that's a pretty busy graphic. So we are going to then go to the arrange and break that curve apart. And I'll click off the page so that I'm able to finally delete that bounding box. I'm able to select these items here, and we're just going to get rid of them. And I have to be careful for anything that's close to the graphic because I don't want to accidentally pick anything there. So if I see enhanced, oh, I've got a big black blob. Well, we're going to fix that. Now I can combine that. And there you go. You're able to see the full daisy. So I'm just going to duplicate that. And we're going to pop that over, because if you see with a combined image, you can't layer them on top of each other. So I'm going to go back to arrange, and I'm going to go to break apart, and I'm going to say view wireframe so I can see everything. So I'll go to my color picker tool over to the right, and I'm clicking on everything for white. So I can click on an object by holding shift on the keyboard. I can click all these objects, and I know they're selected as soon as I see a node pop up. So I'm going to click each and every one of them here, because I selected everything white and I need to make these things black. So there you go. I've gone to my color picker tool and I've made black. I've also selected the outline and I've made that black, and then I've made enhanced. Now let's see our wireframe there, because I want to make sure that center there is supposed to be white. And I'll go back to view enhanced. Oh, we've lost our little black dots, but that's okay. This is where the order comes in. So I've just put that to the back, and I'm putting my outline now to the back. So there you go. It's brought my little black dots all to the front. And I'm going to slide and select everything here and then go arrange, group. So if I edit and duplicate another one here, there you go. I can place on top of one another And so this is how I can make a collage. And this is what designing on layers means. So this was how I was able to make my charcuterie board custom flower bouquet for Grandma's garden using all the different birth flowers to make their family bouquet. And I'm just going to show you the wireframe. So there you go. I have it all on layers. And by designing it on layers means I can export it as a PNG. I don't have to go to all those extra steps of welding it like you would in SVG in order to cut, say, from with a vinyl cutter. PNGs are just so simplistic to use, and you can use it in a number of different programs. When you email the designs to someone, it's portable network graphic, which means it's opened up by pretty much everything. So that's how Grandma's Garden was designed. So now I can just move that out of the way, or I can move my text back here, send that to center, and I can take one of my daisies, I can pop it over here, and I can take the other daisy, pop it over here. Now they're both facing the same way, so I can use my transformation tool. And sorry, I'm just trying to remember CorelDRAW 12 here because I actually use SignMaster a lot more now. There we go, my position. And I'm going to the horizontal tool, or the scale and mirror, I should say. So I'm going to scale that horizontal. And I'm going to click apply. So there we go, I've got a mirror reverse of my flowers. Now, I honestly could have drawn the flowers out all individually if I had wanted to. With my iPad, I use it as a digitizer with my iPen, but this file was only $5, and I've got all 12 months of birth flowers now, and by just node editing, I was able to pick it apart. So one file, I have multiple uses now, and I can make more original items that not everybody's going to have. So now I'm just switching over to SignMaster here, and I've got the expert version. Now I did get the basic version for free when I purchased my cutter. Now I did upgrade to the Pro and the expert. So yeah, honestly, this program is about $300 plus. But I like it because I can edit photos and the text right in this one program. Now you can do that with CorelDRAW as well. You can import photos, but you can't edit your contrast and brightness in with it. But I was just showing you here, once you learn one program, for instance, Corel and SignMate are so similar, and you'll see other design software out there is so similar that once you get one down pat, you'll be able to pick them up all very quickly, I swear to you. And that's how I was able to design my charcuterie board from video number 26 there, where I showed you how to laser engrave and finish your charcuterie boards. And this is also how I designed a family bouquet slate board, which you can see my settings and how I did it in video number 18 of mine. Now we're going to go over text to path. Hopefully your head isn't ready to explode, but I'm going to do this in SignMaster, but you can totally do this in CorelDRAW as well. Now I should have mentioned CorelDRAW 12 I was able to pick off of eBay for $50. If you're looking at any of the Corel suites, well, you're looking at about $300 to $600 normally. So that's where this program here, where it's kind of over $300, is right in par with what you would be paying for regular price programs. So here I've imported a file, and here, just like in CorelDRAW, you can draw freehand, and here we go with the node editing again. I can delete, add, change those curves and stuff like that. And right now I'm making my heart shape. that I want to fit my text to. So you can fit text to circles, to arches, squares, any custom shape. S bends, you can do it all. So I'm just going to delete that one for now, and I'm going to text in what I want to fit to the path. And I'm just going to speed this part up here because I admit I am not the quickest typer. I was the one that they had to put the guard on when we had keyboarding skills in school. So I've just never really picked up being very quick at typing. So here I am. I'm just trying to pick the text that I like. And that one's a little busy, so I'm going to change that. And I can just scroll down there. And I want to just pick a little bit simpler text, but a nice text. And I'm not going to take too much time on it. So now, when I have the pick tool selected, if the lettering was too stretched out there, I can change that. Now I'm going to click the shift key on my keyboard and click the heart as well, and you saw that I was doing text to path. So here I'm able to change where I want that text to begin and wrap around the heart. Just like so. Now I've gone back to my text tool because I can add some spacings in there if I wanted to. I'm just zooming out with my scroll on my mouse tool there. I can also convert that to curves so that way I can separate the heart and delete it. But I may need to do other text on that, so I will just move that heart over to be able to use it in the future. So that is how I design these with the STL image. And so you'll see the first one I did with a white background. And then the second one I did with a black background. And I'm going to show you here that that text is very, very fine. So when you have a very finer text, you may possibly want to add an outline to it. Now here I had an outline around the bounding box, so I just have to go in and delete that. There we go. And now I'm going to export these files for our next portion of our little design video here. And I am exporting again as a PNG. So I'll give my file a name. And I only have selected objects because if I had the entire canvas selected, it would pick up everything. So when you're exporting, make sure you only have selected on. And I'll export this one as well. I'm naming this one test file as well. So I've got a solid color. And this is why I was showing you those, because I'm going to show you how you invert your photos for laser engraving on glass, slate, mirrors, and acrylic. You would all have to use the invert function in LaserGRBL. So the first one we're going to open here is the one that has the white background. So before we invert it, make sure you take note of where the lightest areas, the whitest areas, and the darkest areas of your engraving is. So we're going to make that nice and big. And I'm not going to use my slider tools yet because I'm taking it off line-to-line tracing, and I am going to go with the 1-bit black and white dithering. And I've got Atkinson turned on here because I do want a great deal of detail. But split that out. So I went to the bottom of my screen there and clicked the invert button. So as you see now, everything that was white is now changed to black. And that means anything that's black is going to engrave. So this is how that turns out. Because on glass and slate, it gives you that white appearance. And hopefully you can see okay, is that it picked up a great deal of detail. And you saw my settings there, 5 lines. Love that 5 lines for laser engraving photos on glass. So here now, if I took the one that had my black background and inverted it, anything that was white is now turned to black, so that will show up white on my glass block. So you can check out video 19 on my channel of laser engraving glass blocks. Those settings that I used was a 5.5 watt. These are the ones that I'm using on my OLM3 with a 10 watt. Is a speed of 1800 millimeters, 900, which is 90% power. Of course, I auto size it because I design it always to size, and click create. So those are the settings that I'm using for my 10A laser. So this is how it opens up in LaserGRBL, and I know it looks a little strange, but the photo's inverted. Now I haven't had a chance to engrave that one yet, but this was basically the same idea where I designed it with a black background in order to make sure that everything else was white. Now here's something a lot of people don't know. When you're designing photos and taking them into grayscale, your monitor and system actually backlights them. So you want to go into your display settings and you want to change your screen brightness. Because if you're finding that you're trying to engrave your photos and they're coming out super dark and you're having to, up your contrast, up your brightness a considerable amount, that's because your monitor is too bright. So you can either change that just how it was shown there, or you can use the buttons on the bottom of your monitor like I had to use. Okay, so let's talk about editing photos in Gimp, and I go over it in greater detail in video 10. Gimp is a totally free software, and I actually like it quite a bit compared to the CorelDRAW Photo Paint. So here I'm just opening up a file from the downloads, and I found the photo that I want, and this I actually took off of Facebook. Now it's going to ask me if I want to convert the photo, and of course I say yes. Very first thing I'm going to do is to go up into image, and I am going to scale this image. And I changed the pixels to inches. So as you can see, it's very small. So I am going to make that at least the size of my glass block that I'm doing it on, 7 by 7 inches. Now I go to my zoom out and zoom in tool. And now I'm going to go into my mode. I'm going to switch it to grayscale. I'm also going into my mode for my precision, and I'm going to change that to 16-bit before I do any editing because I want for it to pick up all the detail that it can. So now I can go into enhance, and I'm going to go down to sharpen, and just by using these slider tools and stuff like that, I can change the radius, I can change the amount. When it gets too much, I'll go back. So I can just find exactly where I want that photo to be, and then I would click OK when it's where I want it to be. Now the next thing I'm going to do is change the brightness and the contrast so I can make it brighter, or I can make it darker. And then click OK when it's where I want it to be. And the next thing I want to do is actually paint. So I will go up to the paint tool. I have black selected. I will go OK. Now I've gone to the right hand side of the screen and I've picked my brush there. I'm going to make my opacity 100% because I need to change this background to black. I will also save the size. Now I had to add an alpha channel to it because instead of the paint mode over there, you'll notice I have it on erase. So there you go. I can totally get rid of that if I wanted to and make it transparent, or I can change my mode to normal and just paint it black. But I needed an alpha channel in order to be able to do that. So there you go. I'll just go in there and get as tight as I can. And then as I start to get closer, I can change the opacity so that it's not 100%. And I also changed my brush tip as well. But so this is the finished product. After painting it, and I actually went in with a white around the black outline of brother and sister as well, just to make sure that it will really stand out when I go to engrave it. So here I am exporting it as a PNG. Told you, I love these PNGs. I make sure I check where it's being exported to. Now I click on interlacing, and I'm going to change that to 16-bit gray. I do not have the save background color turned on. I don't have the save color from transparent pixels turned on, and I'll just click export. So I've imported the photo, and I'll just show you again because I know I clicked it to my downloads. I will open that. I'm just going to pop that there so I can import the photo, and I can add the text to it. So just showing you wireframe. See what I mean? A photo is a bitmap. You cannot edit it at all. And the rest is done with vector. And I added outlines as well, just to make that lettering pop and to make the photo pop. So using the same exact settings that I showed you before in opening up in LaserGRBL and inverting that photo with it designed on black, this is how it turns out. So using Gimp can be a little intimidating at first, but you can also use Imager online, which will edit your photos a little bit easier. But then you're going to have to use pass-through in LaserGRBL. And then it pretty much triples your time on laser engraving. So really, investing in some software, like I started, well, way back with CorelDRAW 3, working my way up to CorelDRAW 12, until finally I'm doing a lot more in SignMate. You can design your own business cards, your own logo designs. Here, I'm starting to play with animation a little bit. So you might have noticed my intro there. Yeah, I was able to take vector art, then export it as PNG, import it into Gimp, then I airbrushed on top of it to give some highlights, some depth. And then here, I've made each individual frame, and I was able to make that video with just Windows Media Player. And then I brought in each and every slide you see there and gave it about a 1-second increment. So finally, we're to digitizing. Gone are the days where I would draw everything by hand and then trace it out with pen and ink or, a very fine tip marker, and then put it in my flatbed scanner or my page scanner, then use a tracing program, and then have to clean up node editing. Here I am with my iPad, my Apple Pen, and this is Adobe Fresco. So I'm able to draw everything in Adobe Adobe Fresco. I can talk today. And then I can save an image. And then I'll actually email me that image. So here I'm just going to download one of the images that I first drew out. And look at that good looking girl, I tell you. So there I am. That's how I drew it out, just in line art. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because with this tool, I can vectorize it. And you can do it with Corel Trace as well, which will come with your CorelDRAW 12. So here I'm just going to put my smoothing on a little bit. I'm going to trace it. And then I'm going to click on accept. So there it is. That is so much easier from the way I used to do it. way back when. So then I will view the wireframe, view the enhanced, and I will ungroup all. Now I can't make her red yet because I actually have to go and combine the curves and then break them apart. And then I can go in and individually select them. And look at that ruby red lipstick. And that's it for today. So I hope it helps and inspires. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Now go create.